Huge shock.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Fish, we are
Hey,
live.
we are live, guys, and the three of us. You're going to start seeing a lot more Daily Fish hooks on the weekend because we have so much going on in the sports world, and we're trying to expand our empire. But we start off on a sad note. I used to cover the draft for AOL, both John, from 1998 to 2004, and a guy who mentored me and really helped me out because I'm a young ingenue was this guy, John Clayton, who covered the NFL for 25 years for ESPN. He passed away last night. I can't think of a more congenial man that I've ever met, a man that was so humble, and also a man that every NFL team gave all the information to because, one, he never sugarcoated anything, Hardison, John Daly, and he never looked to bend reality. He was never a guy for shock value that seems to happen nowadays. He called the facts. And what he'd also do is he had too much information coming in, he would farm it off to a young guy named Chris Mortensen that started out in the business. Well,
Yeah.
he got pushed aside, which I thought was a terrible thing because he wasn't the best looking guy on the planet. He's not as good looking as me, you, or Hardison. It doesn't matter. He's a great journalist and a great friend. And he was going to come on the Daily Fish podcast, and we lost him too soon at the age of 67. Daly, did you know him?
I never got a chance to meet John, and I always wanted to kind of live vicariously through you in knowing him and all your stories about him. And I loved him on air. And you're right. I mean, he was a skinny guy with bespectacled glasses. Had kind of a nerd look, but man, he knew his stuff, and he had all the information. So no, I was a big fan of his, and I'm crushed that he's left us.
Yeah. No, Hardison, did you? Now, you're a fan of the game, and you know football like we both did. Did you take a lot of what he said? Was he the guy you went to when he came on and said, "Hey, this has happened. Detroit's going to take Calvin Johnson"? And did you use him as your information tool?
He's definitely someone that you used. I mean, he was just such a pivotal person that worked for the network for so long. He gave so many information, so much information, especially, kid for me growing up in the 90s in the draft and watching him. And even when they started doing this is the network's, top, this is Sports Center, he being such a pivotal person at those, he has one of the most iconic ones. You talk about LeBron, you talk about the Curry one, and then you talk about John Clayton with the mullet, with Pantera and Iron Man, and Ma, don't bother me.
Remember that commercial? You guys remember him and Sean Salisbury going at it? They had this like just some
Yeah.
massive debates, which make any debate now between Stephen A. Smith and Mad Dog Russo look obsolete. It was just phenomenal. He started the whole thing out. But look, we're going to get to a lighter note. Rest in peace to a great guy that really shaped Fish's career.
Definitely, we'll be toasting him today. That's for sure. And rest in peace, John Clayton. We loved having you for the time that we had you. That's for sure. Hey, a lot of other stuff going on. Correa to the Twins, Devontae to the Raiders, and there's this thing called March Madness. Folks, just to let you know, we are live with the Daily Fish Hook. It is Saturday, March 19th, 2022, or the busiest day in sports and entertainment. Hi, everybody. John Daly here with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. And also we're joined by the Hardline, John Hardison, who has the Cost of Winning podcast, who's a regular here on Daily Fish. He's going to get to some picks and props for us. Guys, let's get to some breaking news overnight. Carlos Correa is now a Twin, and for only 3 years. You guys surprised at that? Fish, go ahead.
Yes. I mean, it's a nice commitment. It's nice. I sat there, Hardison and Daly, and I always say, look, when it comes to free agencies, it's always the big guys that are making the big splashes. All right. To see a team like the Twins, who I'm a big fan of the Twins. They're a playoff team, sometimes friendly, sometimes not. But it's a great acquisition for them. I really thought hard they're going to the Yankees. Didn't you, Daly?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I don't know why he wouldn't have gone because he was getting almost a similar deal for 4 years. So it's really curious to me as to why he would take the Twins. The Twins lineup now is really, with him and Buxton in there, and they got a couple of other really good sticks. So it's pretty good. I think it's actually kind of good for baseball that he's not doing that 6-year or 10-year deal, because who wants a shortstop at 38 years old that you're paying $140 million to? So I think it's a good deal. And I think, he's going to be 30 at the end of that deal. He could switch over to third base, or he could still be a great shortstop. Hardison, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a good deal, especially for the market being such a small market Minnesota is. But I think the biggest part about the contract that's good is for those 3 years, after the first 2 years, there's an opt-out option as well. So if they're both deciding that, hey, this isn't working, this is the decision that, or the route that we want to go in, it's a little bit easier for them to get out of it versus that 6-year or 5-year deal where you're kind of locked with the same guy.
Cool. All right, let's get to some football. In Vegas, does the signing of Davante Adams change everything or anything? Fish, you've been talking about this. You actually brought up the real estate deal about a week and a half ago, and actually almost kind of gave us a prediction on this. What are your thoughts now that it's happened?
He bought a house in Derek Carr's neighborhood, like 5 houses down. I just don't. And Hardison and I talked to people in the bar. Oh, Tom Brady has a house here, and Ray Lewis has a house in Spanish Trails, and they don't live here. They just rent it out or whatever. No, that was a precursor to it. I'm excited. Hardison's the guy that broke the news to me. When I'm getting ready to take a nap to go to work, I couldn't sleep because this is an all-pro. And we've always said, well, you want to give a guy like Carr, who's starting with a new coach, you want to give him a number 1 receiver. Well, you gave him the best receiver in the game, and you got him for a 1 and a 2. So I'm super excited about what the Raiders have done in their hot stove as far as getting Chandler Jones on the defense and Davante Adams. And then if I could segue into this one, I want to both your opinions on this. Your beautiful wife, is the biggest Browns fan on the planet, and they just got a franchise quarterback. Do you both think that the Browns gave up 3 number 1s, a 2, and a 4? Is that too much? Because Ian Rappaport said this is the biggest trade in NFL history. Do you, 1, think both that's too much to give up, and 2, do you agree with Ian Rappaport that it's the biggest trade in NFL history? Go first, Daly.
I'm not certain because I checked with my wife on that, and I know when I sent her the meme that had Deshaun Watson as Bill Cosby, she was kind of like, So I don't know that she's real happy about it, to be honest with you. I think it's a huge trade. I think there's a lot of things that are going to be happening there. I still think there's some civil suit that he's got to face. As far as just on the football field, and as long as the other stuff doesn't involve in it, I think it's a good move for the Browns. I like Deshaun Watson as a quarterback. I'm not a big fan of Baker Mayfield overall. I don't think he's helped himself at all. So on the field, I think it's okay. I do think it's a risk because I think there's other factors there. Hardline, give me yours.
Honestly, this is the best opportunity that the Browns could have taken. I think it's a great trade. I mean, look, you're not going to get a quarterback with this caliber to come to Cleveland unless you draft him. And if you look at the way the Browns have drafted quarterbacks, it hasn't been good. From Manziel to Crouch to Wheaton, it's all been duds. Even Baker Mayfield, whether we want to admit it or not, they haven't hit it out of the park. So I at this point, it's hard to get someone to come to Cleveland. Even ask LeBron, it's hard to recruit people to come to Cleveland. I think this is the best opportunity that you have and the best thing to win. You got him, you have Amari Cooper, you have Nick Chubb. So you have a lot of weapons on this team that you make them a force in the AFC North.
Right. Well, Fish, what are you thinking?
Brady Quinn too was another dust. He's right. Couch. Brady Quinn's another one that was a number 1 pick that was just a bust in Cleveland. Here's the real deal. And I love this kid's so honest. Did you know that they had $80 million more on the plate than Atlanta or New Orleans? He gets $230 million guaranteed. Money talks, and why not? He took the Browns out of the running, and then the Browns came up with some Skrilla, and I think it's a great move. I think it's a great move for the Cleveland Browns because he's a great kid on the field. He's a good kid anyways. He made a mistake. Maybe it's gonna be a great move for the city of Cleveland, which I think is one of the top 10 name brand teams in pro football. And along with the Lions, it's funny. Terry's team, your wife, Hardline's team, the Detroit Lions, and the Raiders are the 3 teams with the most losses in the last 20 years. And the Lions haven't made a splash yet, but at least our other 2 teams have.
All right. Before we go to March Madness, where do you think Baker Mayfield's going to end up? Steelers?
No, because Trubisky signed there. I think it's 2 teams: the Seattle Seahawks or the Colts. What about you, Hardline?
I'm looking at the Seahawks, and my guess would be the Houston Texans. He's a guy from Texas. It makes sense to put him back home. He played at Texas Tech, not too far from there. I think that with his skill set, I like him a little bit more than David Mills, and I think you could grow with him. He's still young. He's still in his mid-20s. I think there's upside to him, but I think he needs a complete rebuild around him.
Okay, before we go to March Madness, I want to take March Madness. I'm so excited about March Madness. I want both your opinions. Where does Jimmy Garoppolo go?
Good question.
Wow. The Niners have already said we're not trading into a team in the NFC. So that takes the Saints and it takes the Carolina Panthers out of it. Where's he going to go? It's Houston, I mean, or Indy, right?
Yeah, theoretically, or because of the way everything has rolled out in this QB carousel, there's not a strong quarterback in my opinion this year that's in the draft, especially in the first round.
Yeah.
Maybe you keep him. Maybe you try to work this out depending on how the shoulder surgery goes over the offseason. We'll see at the beginning of mini camps, training camp, where he is. But unfortunately, it's a rocky relationship. It's been a rocky relationship the last few years, and maybe this is just your guy for this year. Maybe there is no other option. You just got to try and mend the fence.
Yeah, he's doing Subway commercials now, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's doing it with Fish's aunt.
Who's my aunt?
Who's his
aunt? Toss a 3, Fish. Wake up, Fish, you idiot. What a schmuck. I got it.
All right. Let's go to March Madness now. Best upset so far. I got to say it's St. Peter's over Kentucky. Give me yours. Go ahead, Fish.
Same thing. I'm going to brag, though. I told Hardline at the bar last night. We picked our upsets. I had Miami over USC, and USC's crying foul over fouls, but St. Peter's over Kentucky, man.
Yeah.
Wow. What about you, Hard?
It's St. Peter's. No one saw that coming. I mean, maybe somebody that just as a joke wrote it in, but it's it was such a huge upset. So good for a small school to see them do so well. I think the biggest thing is now, if you're Kentucky, because the last couple seasons hasn't gone your way, there's a lot of questions at stake. It might be, as I call it, the Kentucky curse. You win one, and then a lot of times people start looking to replace you. So maybe keep your eye out for that. Maybe Calipari's time is starting to come to an end. Ask Tubby Smith.
Ooh. Yeah, it could be. I got to tell you, I played golf with John Calipari once. One of the nicest guys out there. So I always kind of root for him, and I love the folks in Lexington. We've had Doug Flynn on. He lives in Lexington, so always kind of rooting for them. And to be honest with you, everybody was saying out of all the number 1 seed or the number 2 seeds that were going to be there, everybody was picking Kentucky to be in the Final Four. So that was a shock loss. And at the same time, too, watching that game, St. Peter's played well. It wasn't let Kentucky stunk. I mean, they didn't play their best, but I mean, St. Peter's was throwing up some clutch threes at certain times and really playing it. So it wasn't fluky. They actually looked like they knew what they were doing. So I was really impressed. That's for sure. All right. Hardline, what are you looking at for today? Give us the picks that the Hardline says we need to go to as we head into Saturday's games.
You know what? The one game that intrigues me the most this weekend, and I know you're not going to like it, John, is Richmond and Providence. I really like this game. I think it's going to be a back and forth game. I would take Richmond plus 3.5 to cover. I just think that they're a good team. I think they have a lot of fight in them, a lot of grit. That's one team that I really like.
I agree.
And the game that is most dearest to my heart, and it's coming up tomorrow, is Michigan State Duke. I think that's the game for me. 2 Hall of Fame coaches, 2 coaches that have led extremely winning programs. I do have Duke. I would take Duke money line tomorrow. I think Duke is just the better team overall. And to keep seeing Coach K's last run go, it hurts as a Michigan State guy to admit that, but I think that's the team to look for. And the third team that I tell anybody to look for, watch out for Memphis today against Gonzaga. I think that's going to be a closer game than a lot of people think. I know people hear the name Memphis, and the only thing that rings a bell maybe would be Derrick Rose, when Calipari was there. But they're a good team. They're a well-coached team. Penny Hardaway's doing a very good job. I don't think it's going to be as easy for Gonzaga as people think.
I would agree. Fish, go ahead.
I'm fishing with the Friars. I disagree. I think the Friars are going to come out today. When the Friars won and they beat South Dakota State, did you see Ed Cooley's interview at the end of that? It was God, Evan Washburn, who covers the NFL sidelines, said something to him. He goes, "What are you talking about? We're physical." They're very, very. I'm not being a homer for you. I'm not rooting for Texas. Had a big win, and again, all I really care about right now is the 3 of us have Tennessee, Kansas, Duke, and UCLA going to the Final Four. We're all still alive. Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for right now.
Fish, your Longhorns get Purdue tomorrow. What are your thoughts on that?
Lose. I like Purdue. I like Purdue's energy. I like Purdue lost in the Big Ten championship to Iowa, but they're very physical, and the Longhorns aren't. The Longhorns are like one of those teams. They remind me kind of this. Do you remember Loyola Old Marymount with Hank Gathers and Bo Kimball? It's a perimeter team that runs a lot and is very finesse. If you're physical with the Longhorns and Purdue, they have that big guy. I forgot his name, Hardison. The big feels like Ivan Drago from Rocky IV, Rocky V. You know, he's gonna knock the crap out of Texas. I'm not a homer. You know, I mean, look, I want them to win, but you know, we bet. That's the hard line. Bet with your head, not with your heart.
You know, Fish. Though, I gotta say, you know, the difference in the tournament. I always tell people there's skill set, but there's coaching, and this is where great coaches cut their teeth. I like Chris Beard, you know, and he's made tournament runs before. You know, he's no schmuck. You know what I mean? He's made a championship before. Don't count your team out.
Wait a minute. Wait, stop. Did you say the word schmuck? Are we rubbing off on you? Because
a little bit.
You know, if you say the word putz, you're gonna. I'm gonna have to get you bar mitzvah.
but you know what? I think, you know, don't count him out. I do think that he makes good adjustments, and I think that, you know, this is one of those games that might surprise you.
Wow. Hey, I had a great conversation with John O'Hurley, you know, Seinfeld fame, who we've had on the show, and it kind of brought to me what was happening, and I just want to run this past you guys. One of the things, he called me, and he after the Friars win over South Dakota State, and he says, "I think I only have one game left in me." He was so nervous, and I said, "John, I'm exactly the same way." I mean, Fish, you just analyzed what's going on with the Horns. I have a difficult time with my Friars. I mean, I'm sitting there, I'm throwing things, I'm yelling at the refs. O'Hurley said I was doing the exact same thing. He said I was just nervous about that. Fish, do you get that way at all when the Longhorn?
I get that way going to the bathroom. Look how high strung I am. You know, is it going to be a clean break? Do I have to use a hot roll of toilet paper because my wife didn't buy no toilet paper because it's going to be another pandemic outage, you know, something like that. Yes, the worst with me, and you felt this, is when you watch a Raider game. The other team can run the opening kickoff back to the 50-yard line, and I'm texting everyone, game over. Well, you'll see when we go to games together, Hardison. I'm really bad with football. No, I mean, I'm really attached to the Longhorns because my alma mater, but I analyze it. I'm more into, I'm happy they're there. I don't think they're going to make it. You're more of a college basketball with the Friars than I am with the Longhorns. You know, be honest with you, I love the Longhorns, but UCLA is dear to my heart because of growing up. I grew up when I was a kid, guys, and you know this, Daly. I saw 8 national championships in a row with John Wooden as a kid, from like the time I'm 8 till I'm 15. I remember it, so I was spoiled.
Yeah, Hardline. How about you? I know you analyze everything, but does your heart take over anything at any time?
I mean, yeah, of course. I'm a sucker. I watch the TV and go like this to hope that free throws miss. And anything I can give myself in a competitive advantage, I wait. You know, I hope. You know, it makes no sense whatsoever, but it's superstitious. But you know, look, we've all lived in Vegas. Fish and I are still in Vegas, and like any other gambler, I'm superstitious.
Let me ask you guys this. We talked about this on one of our past podcasts. We'll bring you in, John. Look, you Red Sox, Friars. When you win, if you're wearing something and the Friars win, do you wear the same thing over again, or do you follow this kind of? I do with the Raiders. I wear the same shirt I wore, and if they win, it's easier with the week difference. Both of you guys have superstitions like that, eating the same thing, wearing the same clothes.
The only time I had that was in 2004, after going through 2003, and then all those years of the Red Sox never winning a world championship. And so we were living in Vegas at the time. And when they beat the Yankees 4 straight, my wife noticed we sat in the same seat every time. So once that 7th game happened, we stayed in that seat. And then when the series against the Cardinals happened, we had to sit in that same seat. The problem was game 4 of that World Series, I had to be in LA. I am literally listening to it on the car on the 101 freeway. And I'm like, oh my God, have I screwed this up? And all I can remember thinking is that if there's nobody on and Folks got a 4-0 lead, can somebody hit a grand slam with nobody on? That's how bad I was thinking. So I am very much like that. I'm not like that all the time, but certainly with the Red Sox and with the Friars. How about you, Hardline?
You know what? It depends on the game and where we're at. You know, the years that we had Matt Stafford in Detroit and we were pushing to make playoffs, you know, there would be a time where, you know, you do a silly dance or you turn around or you got to walk outside 3 times and knock on the back door, and all of a sudden something would happen. You'd be like, hey, you know, maybe this is working. And then inevitably we lose and I cut it out. But, you know, for that wow, sweet moment, you think maybe this is something.
Hey, I think we need to have a new segment. It's called the hard line, that voodoo that you do, so that you jinx everything. I love it. Something like that. I love that.
Yeah, that's fair. So I'll go back. So I became friends with John in the year 2000. So when John is it's the classiest guy I've ever met, and there's no filter on me, but he has a filter. I never heard him curse that much. But when the Red Sox were going through that, this is what I got texts all the time. This is unfucking believable. This is unfucking believable. It's unfucking believable. That's all I heard him say the entire time. And then he hasn't cursed since then.
Hell no.
Hell no. Heck no.
All right. All right. All right. This is the Daly Fish Hook. We get you hooked on our hour-long weekly show. Now, this week, it's going to be on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Our special guest is going to be rock star Damon Johnson. He's heading a big golf and rock celebrity golf event in Greenville, South Carolina, that we're going to talk about, that I'm going to be at. And Fish, we're going to bring you in on that as well. Plus, we're going to get more of Hardison's picks for the Sweet 16. And don't forget, we got the Oscars coming up. Heidi's Hollywood will have our own Heidi Holliker and the Dragon movie guy, Brian Torrison, to run down the Oscar picks. So I'm looking forward to this. Now, I know, Hardison, you're not going to be with us. You're going to have to, because happy anniversary, by the way. And I know you've got to celebrate that, but you're going to give us your picks ahead of time so we can blurt them out. We won't change them, I promise.
Hardline comes in. I haven't seen his wife, Chrissy, in the longest time. Did he outkicked his coverage? Are you kidding me? He's going to have to trade everything. This girl's worth 7 first-round draft picks, and she goes, oh, my God, what a sweetheart. You both. We all outkicked our coverage. I don't know how the hell I pulled it off, but God, she's pretty strong. She's beautiful and a great person. And hey, so Carlin, I ask you one favor, and you could text it to me. See if there's any prop bets on the Academy Awards for just the actor, actress, best picture, and director, because John and I are gonna. John's seen a lot of the films. I've seen a lot of the films, and we're gonna have a fun time. You know Brian Torrison. He's in mourning right now.
Absolutely.
He's in mourning over Seattle getting Drew Lock, so we have to kind of bring him out of that, that misery.
Hopefully that won't affect him.
Right.
Well, maybe he's in the Baker Mayfield running now.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Well, he'll get a lot of progressive commercials, so that's good.
Well, one thing before we get out of here, John, you hearing the rumors? Because I'm getting excited about the Masters coming up, and we're gonna. That's. You hear any rumors that Tiger might play the Masters? That's been big chatter on the social media.
From
what are you hearing?
What I heard on pretty good sources, that he's probably, if he's ready at all, it probably won't be till next year. I talked to somebody I was down in West Palm Beach with somebody who works with him and deals with him, and they said he literally shuffles. He's still got a lot of problems with that back and with the leg. Do they think he can come back? Yeah, but he's. A lot of folks will remember what Ben Hogan went through. I mean, I think Tiger's even worse because, Tiger's back was bad before that car accident. And, look what's happening with Bryson DeChambeau now. I mean, he's injured from doing that long drive stuff. So if Tiger comes, I would be really surprised if he plays in this year's Masters. Would I be surprised if something maybe the end of the year or next year? No, I wouldn't be surprised about that. What do you guys think?
I was going to say, hey, Daly, you've been to Augusta before, haven't you? When Mets, how rough is that walk? Brutal. I just think I that's why I kind of figured it's a pretty brutal walk. From the scenes that I've seen watching the Masters, it looks like it's a hump. It looks like it's really difficult for the average person.
I got to tell you, one of the things the first time I went there, I think it was like 1993, and my wife and I went there. We were there with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. And as we got there, I said to my wife, this is the one time she was wrong. I said, I'm going to walk from the first all the way to the 18th. She goes, why are you going to do that? I said, because I want to see what this course is really like. And it's exactly what you said, Hardline. You don't realize on television how hilly it is. And at the time, guys like Ian Woosnam, Nick Faldo, guys who were pretty big with their legs, they were the ones that were winning. The tall, skinny guys weren't necessarily doing it. And when you go from 10 to 11, and I mean, it is really up and down, and you don't see it, even on the first hole. So, yeah, you've got to be in shape to play Augusta. Augusta will really wear you out. And then on top of it, they've moved all those tees back. So you got 500-yard par fours. So it's tough. So in adding that to the Tiger factor, yeah, I just don't see him playing. What do you got there?
It's the second time you were wrong. You try to sell your wife that you were built like a porn star, and boy, did she find out? She find out that the Jameson and through your lineage things shrink?
I told her to get glasses after that, but
hey, we're all wearing glasses. So.
All righty, guys. All right, this is the Daly Fish Live. We're on Facebook at daily.fish.5. It'll be, again, this Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. You can watch us on Facebook at the Myrtle Beach Golf Channel and also Myrtle Beach Grand Strand Life. Check us out on Daly Fish on YouTube, and soon we'll be on Wingding TV, and you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, and Amazon. Wow. Good one. Hey, guys, we got a ton of stuff in there. We needed to do this because there was just so much that was just unfolding today.
Oh, and we'll do it again next week, and there'll be more stuff coming out. It's going to be great.
Absolutely. All right.
Hardline, happy anniversary. And I dedicate this whole being with you guys. I love you guys like brothers, but this goes out to John Clayton. Rest in peace.
Absolutely. I'll be toasting him today. Watching the games.
Thanks.